Hi, animation fans. Welcome back to another session, another episode of The Director's Cut, where we feature directors and creators of film, animation, documentary, and videos. So I'm Greg. I produce animation as well. I'm not a gamer, although I look like one. But today I'm a host, and I'm going to be interviewing an animator, a director, and a creator. But before we do that, let's take a look at the amazing animation show reel. Roll it! Welcome back, and that was an amazing, awesome show reel. Now, to tell us more about that show reel and the process of animation, let's welcome our guest today, Fythulla Hamzah, or Phi, from Kromosom Lab, and he'll be telling us a little bit about himself. Welcome to the show.
Hi everybody. I'm Fythullah and also known in the industry as Chromosome, and particularly that's where Chromosome Lab name came from. Chromosome.
Oh,
So
right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's interesting when you mentioned
Yeah.
chromosome, right?
Yes.
Yeah, how did that come about?
Well, in the birth of internet, we used to have this MIRC chat room. So at that time, everybody was using scientific names. So uh, I'm selecting the least scientific names that I like in my school days, which is biology. So I use chromosome.
Wow, that's a very cool name. It's very technological. Yeah. So, can you tell us a little bit about what your company does, and also a little bit about how your journey, from how you started in this journey until now?
So basically, I started to do content and comics early in my college days, which is when I was undertaking my degree in 1999. I think 2000, yes, 1999. So actually, I started doing all my own comics, self-published comics, back in 1999, while I was still in UITM at the time. Sorry, ITM at that time. It's not even UITM. So slowly, the purpose of having this early exposure at that time, which is I want to build up a portfolio, and it is slightly is a slight detour from my what do you call that majoring, which is in architecture. We use yes. I'm at the time undertaking bachelor in architecture, and at the same time uh, I'm doing comics, self-published comics. And as we know, in 1998 we have this major crisis, economic crisis, if you can remember. and
Mm,
so it's booming. Everybody start doing things on their own.
mm,
Self-published comic, self-published animation at that time. So
mm,
seeing this as what you call that, a trend, everybody start selling zines, selling magazines. I'm with my fellow partners in ITM, form a comic magazine called Urban
mm.
Comics.
Oh,
So first,
that's sorry to cut you off there, but
yes, no
urban
problem.
comics, yes, that's very
Yep.
interesting. So I think our fans probably would like to know more about urban comics, and we'll listen, we'll find out more from you after the
Mhm.
break. So we'll have to take
All
a
right.
break now. Okay, let's
Okay.
go to the break. Welcome back to the director's cut, and today we have Fythullah or Phi from Kromosom Lab, and he's sharing with us his production experience with animation and his journey of how he started animation and doing animation. So today, Fythullah is Chromosome Lab is also very special, and it's very uniquely known for his work in character design, especially in bringing local cultural stories and figures and legends, right? Legendary figures into a popular medium. I think you're quite well known for that. Can you share with us? You started with Urban Comics. You're the founder and creator of Urban Comics with your partner, and how that led you into animation.
Yes, thanks, Greg. Back in 1999, um, when I first do my comics and publish it in Urban Comics, the digital medium is still undergoing, introduction. We've been reintroduced from the traditional media to digital media, and then everything back then was still wired. So my Wacom, I think it's a Genius, but we call it Wacom. It's a Genius tablet, yes. Still wired, still has this wire attached to the main board. And then I slowly learn, I think at that time, Adobe 3
Mm.
or 4.
Wow.
Yes. So my second cover in Urban Comic was done digitally. I trace and then scan. And at that time, we use a drum scan. It's a very big scanner. And then I think it takes me about 2 weeks to do just one cover because storage is limited. We still use a hard drive. A C drive. I don't know what to call it. So it is still new to us. And then surprisingly, when I Googled it, I think at that time Google still was not a synonym for searching in the web. I tried to search about these digital paintings. It's still new to us, and then the only sources that I can learn about this is from magazine readings.
Mm,
So you have to go to the library or you have to go to a bookshop just to learn the digital painting techniques,
mm,
where
mm,
you can learn the tip and tricks, how to submit. And so to my surprise, at that time we are on par with the other countries. So in fact, in Malaysia we started early
mm,
uh, in this digital medium. So
mm,
the magazine span about, I think, 22 episodes, um, about 2 year and and a half, I think. So we managed to uh, as previously that I, we are self-published, and then at that time there are no help from government. There are no external bodies that can help you to start off. So we just roll everything from our own pocket, and then along the progression, everybody started to have their own job. So I've graduated and being a full-time architect, and starting to what do you call that? To do my to practice my architectural degree. So to practice my in the architectural firm. So slowly, my comics passion started to fade away. But then in 2004, I've been contacted by Dewan Bahasa and Pustaka to involve in their Nusantara, or I think Hikayat, comic Hikayat. So the initiative was originally to publish Hikayat comics online on web.
Oh, I see.
Yes, it's digital, and that was in 2003 or 2004. So I've been assigned to do the comics for Hikayat Hantuah, Hikayat Jayapati, Hikayat Mahal Karma, and the other one is Hikayat Shamardan, which is before that I have no idea what those stories are or for. So being this that I have to force myself to read all these books in Bahasa and in Jawi even.
Wow.
So yes, it's a tale. So the books are very old, and somehow I feel that I have to do something, or I have to do a comic or a translated version of the hikayat that appeal to my generation or to the current generation. And I think
Can I ask? Yeah, can
yes,
I ask you something relevant to that? Because
mm,
when you translate a story,
yep,
right, which is in a document, very old document, right? It's in
yes,
Jawi, right? When you
yep.
translate a story like that into comics, how far is it different when you translate stories like that into animation? So jumping into animation now.
Yes. When we do script or when we brainstorm for a content in animation, we usually do what do you call that? A scripting page that we break the scenes and the major plots into segments. So um, we always thought that traditional stories, it's boring. It got all these traditional costume and stuff. But if you look deep into the storyline or the synopsis or the log line, it's still the same. It has monsters. It had
Mm,
flying. It had superpowers. It
mm.
had weapons. So
And
I'm
archetypes, character
yes,
archetypes. Yeah.
character archetypes.
Mm,
So looking at this, I started to realize that this is the same what's been going on in DC, which is they
mm,
are using Titans as their preferences, and they have the same thing in Marvel.
mm.
For example, in Thor, it
Right.
is
That's interesting.
yes, support
Yeah.
law.
So yeah, to we will need to take a break right now, but
Yes,
it's very interesting because you touch on something very interesting here.
right.
The Marvel of Asia, right? Southeast Asia,
Yes,
the
exactly.
Avengers of Southeast Asia. So we want to know more. So we'll take a break and we'll come back. We'll find out more. Welcome back to the Director's Cut. And today we have in our studio today with us Fythullah or Phi from Kromosom Lab. And we've been talking
Right.
about uh, character design, and
Yes.
we'll touch upon character archetypes as well. And you've been doing something very interesting. I think your company Kromosom Lab is known for, which is you design Nusantara characters, and
Yes.
you're mining from our local culture, the folk tales, the legends, and the heroes from our stories locally, and that's been very interesting how you do it. Would you mind to share more stories about how you actually design? You know, the costume, the character shapes, and the props that they're using. How do you actually do that?
Okay. Usually before I design something, I do this exercise that I call info collecting. It can be a visual, it can be a reading, it can be a notes, it can be a picture, it can be a journal, just to get an idea of what I'm doing and
Mm,
um, what what's out there for me to interpret. So usually, I use this. I think that something that we notice in most Disney film. Each story has this multiple diverse characters. You have the hero, you have the heroine, you have the um,
magician,
magician. Yes, you have the sidekick, animal
yeah,
sidekick. Yes,
the
you have this
jester.
weapon jester. Yes, all these archetypes exist in this journal. Oh, sorry, in the stories. What we have to do is to find which one fall under which characters. So that's the first exercise that I'm doing.
Which example do you have for, like, let's say the hero or the bad guys in your designs that you can show to the audience?
Yes, I have one. The warrior. I think the one behind me. This one.
Hmm.
This one.
Okay.
And beside it, there's a character called Barongan, which is the bad guy. So
Hmm.
in this character archetype, Barongan is very big. It has armor, pointy armor, and
Ah.
it has large fangs, and fire come out from its background.
Okay.
Its background. So and plus usually the hero is being presented with bold colors,
Hmm.
identifiable wardrobe, and usually it had cape, it had emblem that represent where he came from, and
Hmm.
then the status of the characters. And because
Hmm.
usually when you design in Nusantara characters, most of the time the main characters is prince usually, or at the end it must become a prince. So you have to design the character progression with or in mind. You have to have in your mind that all these characters must be what do you call that, easy for the audience to pick up.
So, do you also have any advice for those who are interested to do animation and they're taking stories from, let's say, well, in our case here, from Sarawak, right? We have a lot of
Mm.
legends and folklores and etc. Do you have any advice on how best to do this?
um First thing first is your case study. Get to know your local folklore. Or in this case, I've done 3 animation in Borneo content.
Mm,
First in Sabah, the Tambuakar, Legend of Tambuakar, and
mm.
then I've done the short stories for Legenda Balu, and then I've done research in Puteri Santubong.
Oh, I
So
see.
in those design and in those brainstorming session, I always refer to the locals because that's where the essence of the story came, and then you can directly see what's their culture, their clothes, their armor, their motif is very different.
Mm.
And I've been to most of the major cultural village in Sarawak and Sabah just to collect this information.
So what you're saying is that the point is to be authentic, like you collect
Yes,
the
exactly.
information about the design and all that, right? To be
Yeah.
authentic. So
Yes.
that's one, right? Is there another one?
Um, always have references
Mm.
because usually when you do animation, for example, like Tambuakar, what I did before, I noticed that they have been someone else before me that done this. So I'm trying to do this from my perspective point of view, and or the perspective that haven't been told before. Because in folklore stories, you can have your own creation rights or your own creative license. It doesn't have to be 100% um, true to what the story was told before. You can always assimilate the current um, content or the current trend into your animation.
Mm.
I've intrigued by how Japanese reintro their folklore in, for example, Naruto. They can always talk about Orochimaru, Tsunade, and Jiraiya. Those are folklore content
Mm.
that be introduced in comics and in animation. And being that, even Malaysian are more aware of Japanese folklore than rather than Malaysian folklore, right? Everybody knows Jiraya. Everybody knows Tsunade. So
Wow,
it's
that's
a yes,
yeah,
it's a tool.
right. That's a very good, wow, full circle. You managed to come back to comics. So I remember I remember you told me that the best way to ensure that the content works is to have a testing ground, and best testing ground is comics. You start with
Yes.
comics first and to test the
Yep.
popularity. And so thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. So we remember your takeaway point. So if any one of you out there who wants to do animation based on local folklore and stories, your takeaway point was number one, have good references,
Yep.
be authentic, right? And number
Yes.
two, to tell it from a different point of view, right?
Exactly. Mm.
Okay, so thank you for sharing all this with us. Thank you for coming on to the show. We hope
All
we
right.
will see you again in the near future. And
No problem.
if anybody wants to follow your work, is there any way they can find you, follow you on
I'm
Facebook or?
on Facebook in name Kromosom and in Instagram Kromosom. Just type
Chromosome?
Kromosom.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, it won't come up with a chromosome, the cell. Okay, thank you very much, Phi.
All right.
Chromosome
Welcome.
Lab. Thank you very
Yes.
much. And to the audience, thank you for staying with us, and hope you join us again for future episodes of
All right.
Director's Cut, where we'll interview more animators. See ya.